Clemson. Saw one of our friends in line for the media entrance, our guy JD, the best in the business, Jacques Doucet from WFB9, the sports director over there, and he joins us this morning to talk some LSU football. JD, good morning.
Good morning, Noah. It was a great experience in Clemson. I don't want to complain about anything, first world problems, but certainly the media line, those people seem to be a bit overwhelmed. I don't know why we had one booth going for all of those media, but that seemed to be the case. Somebody was in line and said they were at a game last year for Virginia and walked right in, but in this case, the LSU game, they had a lot of people there, and big win for the Tigers of LSU to finally start a season 1-0. It's a refreshing change here on this beautiful, beautiful Wednesday morning in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, isn't it so nice to finally be able to bask in victory week one and just kind of be happy for a start of a football season for a change?
Well, yeah, not only to start 1-0, but you're not starting 1-0 against Long Island University, which I didn't know existed till this past weekend. I just thought that was an iced tea or something, But to go to the number 4 team in the country, I mean, no matter how you win, John Brady, the former LSU men's basketball coach, one time they had played a low-scoring, ugly game, and he said, "Let me tell you something. Tigers win 2-0. Tigers win." Okay? So no matter how you win that game, you got to be thrilled to come out of there with a victory and still be able to look at some things and say, hey, we need to improve on this and that, because certainly there were some moments in the game that reminded you of season openers of years past. I believe this is thank you, ma'am. I believe this is the third straight year that LSU in a season opener has had a 1st and goal and then a 4th and goal, gone for it, not made it. I think they did that opening kickoff against Florida State and Orlando. They did that last year, opening kickoff USC in Vegas. This was not the opening kickoff, but late in the first half, they go for it. And obviously, if Nussmeier throws another touchdown to Trey Green, we're all celebrating. But I think all of us in the press box were like, why are they going for it here? Kick the field goal. And, to Coach Kelly's credit on Monday, hey, that was the mistake. We shouldn't have done that. And certainly when the Berry and Brown touchdown that was not gets called back, and then you miss a field goal, you're like, oh, God, here we go again. Heartbreaker at the end. They're going to tie it up, go to overtime and win. But obviously that wasn't the case. It's refreshing to have a defense that you enjoy watching and that you can put on the field and say, hey, I feel pretty confident these guys are going to stop the opposition.
Yeah, and you bring up the defense. I wanted to bring up I was in Vegas last year and then now Clemson this year, and there were some moments that felt similar, like that second half where it felt like LSU I was putting the pressure on the offense myself to say, hey, you've got 2 drives here up 17-10. Go put this game away. Go score a touchdown, put them to bed. And they didn't do it, just like against Clemson last year. I mean, against USC last year, they didn't really strike with the lead, and USC was able to find a way to win that game. But now you have a defense that you don't have to put all the pressure on your offense to go and put that game to bed, because you've got playmakers on the other side of the ball that can put that game away for you.
Yeah, well, last year against USC in Vegas, it felt like the offense moved the ball between the 20s and just didn't score enough points to separate the score. And then you put your defense on the field at the end and they can't get the job done, and big pass interference play, right, and then a catch, and to give up the game-winning touchdown there last year. These are the stupid things I remember. I remember last year in that game, there was a deflection that went high up in the air, and Will Whitweeks almost intercepted it, but he couldn't. And I think there was something kind of similar in this game. It was in the fourth quarter. It was down by Clemson's goal line. The ball got knocked up in the air, and there were like 3 or 4 guys that could have maybe picked it but didn't. But before the game, Harold Perkins told us, look, we got to make this quarterback run east and west, not north and south, and that's what they did all night long. I mean, Cade Klubnik had a few runs, but even the positive pass plays he completed in the first downs that they made, he had 4 jerseys all over him, and he's running for his life. So I felt that the LSU offense a lot of times during the night was a couple of steps forward, a couple of steps back, including the opening drive. They get a great Caden Durham run to start the game. Then on 3rd and 11, they run some little inside handoff that goes nowhere. The Damian Ramos missed field goal there in the third quarter. Certainly not taking the points at the end of the first half. And then, Clemson really only scored one touchdown the entire night. One touchdown drive they had because their field goal was set up by the Bauer Sharp fumble, which was very close to not being a fumble. So really, you look at the score, kind of like the 2003 national championship game against Oklahoma. It was a one touchdown game, but you feel like you dominated for most of the night and in their house. So it reflects in the rankings. LSU rewarded by being number 3 and number 4 in the rankings, which is exciting in the moment, but in the grand scheme of things doesn't mean a whole lot. You've just got a whole lot. You've got plenty of very difficult teams coming up that you're going to have to beat.
I want to ask you about the coaching Saturday night. It felt like both Joe Sloan and Blake Baker had their schemes dialed up to win that football game and just almost kind of outdid Clemson in a way and outcoached them because you saw an offense that had an identity, made a commitment to running the football, and those little kind of screen behind the line of scrimmage passes to get the playmakers out in space, and then defensively wanted to get Klubnik on the move and had that dialed up with Harold Perkins. What was your takeaway for the scheme and the game plan by the Tigers Saturday night?
Well, back in the spring, we would go to practice, and, they would do things with Xavier Thomas where they would hand him the football. And I think one time I asked Coach Kelly about that, and did we do that? I didn't see that. We didn't do that. It was kind of like, but I think he only got 2 handoffs, but they went for 26 yards. That was a nice little sprinkling that they put in there to give the ball to Xavier Thomas. I thought Caden Durham ran very hard to get his 74 yards. So I think Joe Sloan was creative in what they called. Certainly there weren't a whole lot of deep passes thrown in the game. Chris Hilton wasn't a factor in the game, but certainly Aaron Anderson was, and Trades Green obviously catching the game-winning touchdown. I think that was a great formation. Now they lined 4 guys up at the top of the screen, wide receivers, and they had Trades one-on-one at the bottom, and he easily won that matchup. And defensively, I had heard from Clemson media people on local talk shows that they were worried about them being able to run the football and who was the running back. And certainly LSU smothered their rushing attack, only got 31 yards all night. And Monsieur Delane, obviously huge addition to the secondary, broke up passes and intercepted a pass. And DJ Pickett getting his feet wet playing. A.J. Halsey, obviously playing in the second half. Harold Perkins all over the place, including on the final play of the game. So, yeah, I think Blake Baker called a great game, and it is kind of cliche every year. No matter you're talking to a middle school, a high school, a college, a pro team, they typically always say, "Oh, we got great camaraderie on this team. Everybody on this team loves each other. We hang out outside of football and blah blah blah." And then they lose a game, and that gets tested. But you do seem to hear, and it does seem to be reflected, whether they were at the Baton Rouge Food Bank having a good time or having the game winning defensive stand here, that there's a lot of laughter, smiles, high five, and hugging. They do seem to have pretty good team chemistry.
It does seem as if the culture has changed a little bit around in Brian Kelly's 4th year. Did you notice anything at the presser where it felt like that maybe he feels a little bit like what's the saying, like get the monkey off your back to be able to finally win an opener for LSU? Did you think that he seems a little bit more confident and can kind of be more of, maybe this is the final version of Brian Kelly? You've seen him do he's been much maligned from the accent to the attitude to everything, and now it feels like when he goes to a presser, like he was making jokes for the 4 years, but they never were really laughed at. This year, it feels like after a win, he gets received a little differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly on Monday, he was carrying a big stick, so to speak.
Yeah.
He gets asked about, the grading scale by Dabo Sweeney, and says that I felt like we dominated in the second half. Perhaps he's grading himself too highly and us too low. Maybe he didn't watch the second half. Maybe he didn't want to watch the second half. That was, I was like, whoa, zingers here from Coach Kelly on a Monday. And certainly I think I agree with I think it was in his opening remarks. He says, the narratives were our fan base was eroding. Our head coach was on the hot seat. we couldn't run the ball, we couldn't stop the ball, stop the run, and now 24 hours later, all those same people are saying we're one of the best teams in the country, and that's absolutely true. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that goes on in today's media climate. It's very, very wishy-washy and swing one way, swing back the other way, and so as Sean Payton used to say, it's either a crisis or a carnival. So I think that this should be celebrated for sure. This weekend, Louisiana Tech being a 38-point underdog doesn't pose a threat to LSU. It doesn't appear, but they're right back in it next week with Florida coming in here and trips to Ole Miss and South Carolina coming to Tiger Stadium. And as bad as Alabama looked, I've seen that happen before, whether Alabama's won or lost, and look really bad early in the year. And by the time LSU goes to Tuscaloosa, they're a different team. So, there's a lot ahead of us, obviously, another 11 games. But this was big to start 1-0 and to put an end to all that Brian Kelly can't win the first game, big game talk. It was a great trip. I enjoyed the trip to Clemson, small town, less than 20,000 people. The atmosphere was great. There wasn't an empty seat to be had. It's not upper echelon. It's not Texas A&M, LSU, Alabama, Bryant-Denny Stadium. It's not over 101,000, but then it's not, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. It's kind of in the middle of those two, and it was a great atmosphere. They've built a powerhouse program, obviously, and it's a beautiful little town. They got a Seneca River. It's like a lake, and people were out on their boats. The humidity was down. Can't really think of a better way to start the opening of for LSU season.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the atmosphere. One, obviously the Death Valley versus Death Valley conversation, but it's more specifically the entrance for Clemson, where they warm up on one side, they have their locker room on one side, then they hitch a ride on their bus all the way around to the other side so they can run down the hill. I wanted your thoughts.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that was quirky. I kind of missed all that. I mean, I knew they were doing this walk, and then somebody said, well, they get off the bus in full pads, and then they go over here. I mean, I knew about Dabo running down the hill and doing all that, which, credit to him. Great balance.
Great form.
Great use. Yeah, great use of his feet, and just to do that. I don't know if he sneaks in there at midnight or whatever and practices, but great job on his part to run down that hill. No, it's, I always thought growing up that Clemson was an SEC team. I mean, they just felt like an SEC team, the other Death Valley. Now, look, Tiger Stadium is, 22,000 more seats than that place. It's much bigger. It's much louder. And I follow LSU. I don't follow Clemson, so I can remember many magical moments in LSU's Tiger Stadium. I can't recite those for Clemson. I don't feel like they really compare in terms of noise and all that, but I'm not going to talk bad about them. They packed the house, a lot of orange, tailgating scene was great. It was a great football game, and I thought everyone was pretty well behaved. I didn't see. I mean, you guys were in the stands. Where the student section was right below the press box, which was interesting. So we could see those kids all game long. I mean, they were enthusiastic, but they weren't, raunchy or whatever. So yeah, it was fun. Good atmosphere. Certainly a bucket list type place, to go to, and it's just kind of what makes college football so great. Pro football's great, but you go into big cities and concrete and traffic and exhaust and smog and just loud. But you go into, it's like you're driving kind of in the country in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden you're in this town, and all of a sudden there's an 81,000 seat stadium right there. That's what makes college football unique and different from the pro game.
100%. And the last one I want to ask you is just, there were a lot of question marks that I feel like going into the game were kind of answered on Saturday night, and I wanted your opinion or your take on what question marks maybe still remain or that you have moving forward after LSU's win versus Clemson.
I think the offense is going to score points. I don't have any doubts that they're going to be okay. I think that, it's your first game of the year. Your timing is not going to be there like it will be in a couple of weeks. And then I thought the offensive line certainly was much better than what we feared it could be. I think they held their own pretty well. Question marks. I guess Clemson did not have a powerful running attack, so I guess I'd like to see that defensive line continue to do well against the team that's got a better running game in it. I just want to see, can this defense continue to play at the level it just played at? Because, certainly it was very refreshing to stuff the run, get after the quarterback, intercept the pass, put your defense on the field to win the game at the end of the game and feel confident they can do that. I'm just curious if that can continue for LSU. And I guess one thing that we didn't see was a kick return. Like to see, that every ball got kicked in the end zone. So like to see what they can do there. And then was there a punt return? I'm trying to think if anybody really ran back a punt. I think they were all fair caught.
I think Xavier ran one back at the end, but nothing crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of what I want to see. I mean, they talked a lot about that in the preseason. I think LSU had 14 punt returns last year for 66 yards total. A school like LSU with the athletes LSU has, that should be better. So I guess that's what I'm also kind of waiting to see that we didn't get a chance to see. Ramos, I'd had some people asking me what was going on with him after that kick. I didn't see that because I was in the press box and didn't see him. Apparently he cramped up on the one he missed, but obviously he kicked the extra point at the end, so he'll be fine. Some people were worried about him, but I guess those are just some thoughts off the top of my head.
Well, JD, I know high school football is getting rolling this week after some jamborees, and now week 1 is upon us. What do y'all have going on over at WFB?
Well, yeah, it's going to be a big Friday. Sportsline Friday night debuted last week. John Eads and Kevin Baptiste did a great job hosting and hustling, but that was jamboree, and it was only a 25-minute show. So this week we really jump into it. It's the regular season openers, games that count. We'll be on at 10:10 p.m. on WAFB. You can also, the entire show is likewise streamed online at WAFB.com and YouTube. And so I think I've got a list of hopefully anywhere from 25 to 28 games we're hoping to get out, shoot, and cover and get on the air. So it'll be a packed night. We can't get to everybody every week, but we do our best job to get as many games as we can on the air. It's a geographical challenge, It's like, okay, what 2 games can this person hit? What 2 games can this person hit? And we do our best to get as many of the important games on the air, including Central. Do you guys have De La Salle? Is that right?
I believe so.
Hosting that on Friday. So I don't like using the word defending state champions, but, Central off their first state championship in many, many years, six decades basically, back on the field with David Semino and whatnot. Just one of the games we'll be covering.
Well, JD, we appreciate your time and all the insight, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.